Hey everybody, welcome back to another Travel Scope on this hashtag Travel Tuesday. I'm Davy Sutton at Davy Sutton on social media, joined with
Lori McBride!
And she's Lori McBride on social media. And we have our special guest today is Deidre Mathis, and she has a really fun a story on how she became like a full-time traveler. So we're going to dig into that later on. But this is the time when we kind of catch up with everybody, see where we've been, see where we're going through the week. And Lori, you get to go have a fun breakaway weekend this weekend.
Yes, it's not work, which, I know people think, well, we get to travel all the time. Yes, but we do work. I have to remind my husband that, they don't think I'm just ridiculously amazing and give me free travel. But so I'm doing a girlfriend getaway to, this is going to sound crazy, but Disney, which is one of my favorite places without children. It is truly one of the best places to drink your way around the world and not have to walk so far. So what about you, Davey?
So, you get to, it's a Disney weekend without children, so that means, there's booze with the cruise and a bunch of other fun stuff, right?
Yeah, so I'm going to give you a really random, so last year, in Disney Police, I hope you don't hear this, last year we made drunken gummies to take in with us, because the one park that you really need to drink in because of the whining children is Magic Kingdom, and it's the one park that there's no alcohol in. And I really sound like an alcoholic now in this conversation, but the drunken gummies don't do well in the heat of Orlando. So we're trying to look at other options, and they've got some, flasks that look like suntan lotion and stuff that you can take things in. And then my favorite one was the wine rack. It was a bra. You can put a whole bottle of wine in.
Wow.
I didn't know at the time, but sounded fun. Oh, for the younger days.
And so this weekend I'm going to head to Florida too. I'm going to be speaking at Philadelphia Brian Foundation's Pow Her Full conference, and it was so cool because I got a call from them last weekend. And they asked me to be their keynote speaker, and I was like, really be the keynote speaker? And possibly for the whole tour for this year. So that's really exciting. So I'm going to, because I've always wanted to do something reaching out to young women. So she that's what her conference is. I think there's about 6 stops this year. So the first one's in Tampa. So I'll be in Tampa for a quick turnaround, but it will be fun.
That's awesome. Hey, yeah. Deidre, a quick thing. Do you have headphones in, honey? Because we're getting a lot of feedback. Are you just listening through your computer and talking into it? Because we're getting a ton of feedback.
Okay, I can grab headphones.
Okay, I think, because it's hard to hear anybody.
Okay. Yeah, so that's what I'm kind of getting into.
That's exciting. So now where in, again, I was having a hard, again, it's her computer giving me feedback. Can you hear it?
Yeah. I was having a hard
time. Is this better?
Absolutely.
Yay! That solved it.
Great. Yeah, perfect. Great. Okay, so what were you saying, Lori?
I could. So where in Florida is the conference at?
It's in Tampa.
Oh, so, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So we're going to be relatively close to each other.
In the same state and much warmer than in Atlanta.
Yeah, I was going to say Tampa's not far.
No. So Deidre, you're already warm. You're out of Houston.
I'm already warm, but actually, I was born and raised in Florida, and I'm actually heading to Miami tonight.
Everybody's going to be in Florida this week.
Yes.
And so what are you getting to in Miami?
So Miami is just a quick getaway. One thing about me is I'm a budget travel fiend. So whenever I see really great deals, I take them. So there was a round trip flight to Miami for $100. So I said, how do you not go to Miami for $100?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. So this is a good way, because I like to do that too. But tell us the process of that. So you find the flight first, because a lot of people they want to venture out to travel, but then that's where they get caught up. Like, well, where do I stay? Like they want the package deals, and then people get caught up in like the all inclusive stuff. So once you find the flight, what's your next step?
So, for example, with this Miami trip, I really just needed a beach. I wanted to get away. So I was looking online to see where I could go over the weekend that had relatively good deals. And when I saw the flight to Southwest for $100, it's one of those flights where you just have to book now and ask questions later. So I booked the flight first and then, look for accommodation. But I'm a big hosteler. So if there's anyone who wants to travel by themselves or, you're afraid to travel alone, stay in a hostel. There's hostels almost everywhere you go. And so I booked a hostel and I'll be flying out tonight. So it's just as simple as that.
And how long are you going?
So I'll be there for 3 days and then I'll come back to Houston and then I'm actually headed out to Belize for 4 days.
Oh, okay.
Oh, wow.
Wow. And is that the same kind of thing, just to get away, or is it for work?
No, so this is another. So fortunately, I can do work from anywhere. So I'll be working while I'm there, but I'm actually going to get PADI certified. So I'm a big snorkeler. And so I'm actually going to get scuba dive training. So that's what I'll be in Belize doing.
And oh wow, so that's great. So
yeah,
this is a good transition, right, Lori, into talking a little more about what Deidre does. So like, let's start from the beginning. When did you first get interested in traveling?
Sure. So I was 19 years old. I was in Spanish class. I graduated from Florida A&M University in Tallahassee, Florida. And I had a professor come to class every day, and she said, I need a group of students to come to the Dominican Republic with me. And unfortunately, people just weren't like excited about it. And so literally she would come to class every week and say, the trip is coming, the trip is coming. And so finally I said, what do I have to lose? I'll get a passport, I'll go on the trip. What do I have to lose? And I thank God that I did that trip every single day because I literally got bitten by the travel bug. And since 19 years old, 10 years later, I've hit 30 countries. So that was literally the country that opened my eyes to this thing called travel.
Wow. Now, I'm sorry. I am stuck on that comment that she's trying to get people to go to the Dominican Republic and nobody was fighting.
I went to an HBCU, historically black college, and just that wasn't something that was drilled into us. Studying abroad, going abroad wasn't something that was high on the radar, at my university back then. So, it's not like it is now where, of course, if you offer students a trip to the Dominican Republic, they're going to snatch and grab it. This was 10 years ago and people just, we just didn't know what the importance of it was. And so that's why one of my major platforms now is getting more students, specifically minority students, interested in going abroad because there's just a whole nother world out there and we just don't know about it if we never leave our own state.
Absolutely. We had we've talked about minority travel a couple times on here. We had Minority Nomad on and stuff. And what do you feel do you feel like it's making a positive shift as far as minorities wanting to travel more? And what do you feel is still that crux that's keeping them from being excited or from somebody saying, hey, you want to go to the Dominican Republic? Republican. Look, there's too much politics. I've been listening to too much politics lately. But to keep them from jumping up and having the whole room saying me. What do you think that is these days?
There's and I worked for a study abroad company for almost 2 years, so I've done a lot of research into this. And the number one thing that I found was fear. So a lot of minorities are afraid if I travel, I'm going to experience racism. People are going to stare at me. I'm going to be different. And that's just totally not true. I've experienced, not that I've experienced anything harsh here in the States, but people experience more racism here in America than they have abroad. When I lived in South Korea, people would stare at me and they would want to touch me. But I just tell people, if you lived in a country where everyone looks like you and then this foreign person comes in, you would probably look too. So I just try to tell people to have an open mind and realize that you do look different and people will wonder about you. But that's a great thing. I've had people tell me that they thought all Americans were white, blonde hair and blue eyes. And I said, that's absolutely not true. And he and I had a full discussion for about an hour and a half. And I feel like he left the conversation with a lot more knowledge than he had before meeting me. And I felt good because I was able to give him that knowledge. So, people should have no fear of traveling abroad as a minority, none at all.
And I also wonder, when you were saying that the teacher came in and kept asking, the instructor came in and kept asking, do you think finances have an issue with it as well? Like they kind of think it's more expensive than it actually can be, which we started off this conversation with you talking about, like you booked a trip from Houston to Miami for $100 because you keep your eye on those things. But was she clear in saying, like, what the cost would be for the trip?
Yeah, so she made that clear, and that's fear and finance are the top two F's of going abroad. People are afraid, and people don't have the finances. And she made us aware. I can't remember. I think the trip was about $2,000, all inclusive. It wasn't a bad deal at all. But if you say $2,000 to college freshmen and sophomore,
Right.
that's a whole lot of money for us. And so I think in hindsight, maybe she could have broken it down better. Maybe she could have talked to us about scholarships and grants. And not that she didn't, do a wonderful job at promoting the trip, because she did. But I think maybe in hindsight, letting students know about money available could have really helped people make that decision to go.
Now, did you have some creative ways to get to that $2,000 even at that age?
Well, fortunately, I had a pretty decent GPA, and I went to a scholarship committee on campus, and I asked them for the money.
Ooh,
so I've always been very entrepreneurial. And
I love that.
I need help them. They actually financed my entire trip.
Well, just by saying yes, right? Again, we're talking to Deidre Mathis. Her social media is Wanderlust _YBP.
Yes.
What is YBP? Young Black Professional?
No, Young Broke Professional. So, so I wrote a book, and I know we'll talk about that, but the name of my book is Wanderlust for the Young Broke Professional. When I finished my master's, I took a gap year and traveled for about 12, it was more realistically about 14 months. And at the end of my journeys, I decided to write a book. And at that point, I was, and I technically still am, a young broke professional. And so the book is written for anybody who looks at my life and they're like, oh my gosh, you must be so wealthy. I'm like, no, I'm actually just very creative. And here's some of my tips. And you can travel just like me if you, read the book and listen to some of the things that I suggest.
You chose lifestyle over the corporate, being stuffed up in the 26th floor of some building or something like that. And so we talk a little about your gap year. So you got bitten by the bug of travel during college, and then how did you even know about a gap year? Because even I mean that's not something that is well promoted here or even encouraged in our country. But once you travel abroad, you see that, especially in Europe, it's really encouraged.
Oh, yeah.
I worked a year in the UK, so that's a big part of their culture as well.
Exactly.
And even if they incorporate it as going, in taking a year, some European countries make you go to the military, but still that's a break after high school or after college. So tell me how you discovered, hey, I'm going to do a gap year, because I'm sure even just the ramifications of you telling your parents, like, yeah, I'm going to do a gap year. What is it?
So before I took the gap year, when I finished college, I moved to Costa Rica for about 3.5 months because I wanted to learn Spanish. And so I had already lived in Costa Rica, had traveled to a few different countries during spring break, and then I actually got a job offer in Maryland. So I worked at that job for about a year, and then I was burnt out. So I moved to South Korea, where I taught English for about 7.5 months. Came back in grad school. One of my professors recruited me to go to India. So I went to India for 4 months. Came back, finished my master's. But before I graduated, I was actually in the airport. And this Australian guy and we were sitting in line waiting to eat. And so the server said, well, we're really busy, but if you guys will sit by each other, we could sit you guys both now. So he and I looked at each other like, okay, we're just hungry. Sure, let's sit and chat. So we sat down, and he told me he was finishing up his gap year. Now, I had never heard of a gap year. At this point, I had traveled quite extensively. I think at that point, I was about 12 or 13 countries. So I knew about traveling, but I didn't know about this thing called gap year. So he told me all about it, told me how he saved money. He did it for a full year. And I said, you know what? I'm going to do that. And so I went home, and he just encouraged me, and I saved and saved and saved for 2 years. And when I finished, I took my gap year. And so I knew that I wanted to start in Australia. And so I just did all the planning. So by the time I told my parents, they were like, okay, used to it at that point. Because at that point, I had lived in Asia, lived in, I lived everywhere. So at that point, they were just like, okay, Deidre, may the force be with you. Be safe. So fortunately, I have very supportive parents. And I know that's hard because a lot of people don't. But fortunately for me, I have great parents who encouraged me to go see this world. So
We have one of our regular watchers on Desiree Miller, who is watching us from the Bahamas. So she has the same kind of "I love this job" comment.
Yes.
Kind of being mobile. So thanks, Desiree, for tuning in. But yeah, I think the theme, and tell me what you think about this, Lori. The theme of what is made Deidre's opportunities happen is that she's just been open to saying yes.
Yes.
And thinking about it later, even with the micro example of booking that $100 ticket from Houston to Miami. I'm going to say yes to this, and then the universe will help it all come together.
I kind of think Deidre is the universe, to be honest, though. Like, I mean, how many people say, hey, I want to learn Spanish? Usually we go, I'll go get a Rosetta Stone. No, Deidre says, I'm going to move to Costa Rica because I want to learn Spanish. I dropped out of Spanish 3 times in college. I would have finished it if I could have gone to Costa Rica. So I kind of think between that and her going, yeah, I want to go on this trip, so I'm just going to go ask the college for money, and they're going to send me. This freaking universe.
Asking the college for money, I don't know how I would have been able to do that. I don't know where to go.
Deidre, like, I love you. I am bowing at the universe of Deidre.
Well, I wrote a proposal, so I went in there very prepared. And I was, I had this proposal, and I printed out pictures of the Dominican Republic.
See, even that.
Showed them how this would enhance my collegiate career. They were very impressed, and so they helped me out. So I didn't just walk in there and say, hey, I want to go to the Dominican Republic, help me out. But I came prepared. So anyone listening, that would be my advice, is to be prepared.
This needs to be, you realize this is another avenue for revenue for you. You need to have the follow-up book of how to have your college funder travel. And you need to teach people how to do kick butt, presentations.
Yeah, not just asking, not just put up a GoFundMe for Beyonce tickets.
Right.
That's right.
Be really creative and
that's it. How to be the universe and move the world by Deidre Mathis.
So let's dig into your book a little more, because Broken Professional, I don't think you'll be broke for too much longer, because you figured out a lot of things early on in life that, I mean, we're just still struggling with Lori and I just being entrepreneurs and deciding to do the lifestyle. And then, so it seems like you figured out, you had the instincts to do that. So let's see if you can kind of summarize, give good teasers, if you will, so people go out and get your book, of some of your best tips that are in the book that people can find out.
Sure, absolutely. Well, one of the things that a lot of people have asked is, with Deidre, I have the typical 9 to 5, so I don't have a lifestyle where I could just take off a week or 2 and travel. How do you do it? And so one of the things that I write about in the book is, taking advantage of long weekends. So, for example, Monday, a lot of people had off because of President's Day. So, and with most jobs, you can telework. So if you go to your boss and you say, hey, Friday I'm thinking of teleworking, make your case, and more than likely your employer will say, sure, of course. So you can leave that Thursday after work, travel to wherever you're going to go. That way you have made a 2.5 or 2-day vacation into 4 days, because you're leaving on Thursday. So you'll be there all day Friday, Saturday, and then you'll leave on Sunday to be back on Monday. So just a lot of creative tips on how to stretch out days to get, that travel time in. Also, budgeting. So there's a whole chapter that talks about, even as a person who pays rent and car note, there's a chapter that talks about how to put up money away specifically just for travel. Because a lot of times people don't feed themselves first. We pay all these other bills and we're stretched out for money, but there's something called, feed yourself first. So put aside X amount of money, depending on how much you make aside. You do that for a year, you can save up $2,000 easily to take a vacation. So there's just a lot of creative ways that people don't think about. Teaching English abroad. So even if you don't have a ton of money saved up, but you just really want to go, you could teach English in South Korea. You could do a program in China. You could do a program in Japan, in Spain. There's so many countries where they need English speakers. And then, I'm actually moving to New Zealand in August, and I'm doing a work holiday visa.
Love you.
Lori, a little button on Deidre right there. We have a place in New Zealand. Once we take the 100-hour flight over there, then we can go hang out.
Absolutely. So the book just gives so many different creative tips and different, out of the box thinking ways that people could go travel and make money, or just travel on vacation. So.
Now, I think you've already answered this, but, for somebody looking at your book, like, let's say my demographic, if I'm I'm established. I have kids. I have a husband who has a corporate job. I have community ties. I can't just take off for the year, and go travel. Does your book have, is this one of those, I've looked at some that have great stuff and I go, oh no, that just doesn't apply to me. It sounds like, obviously the long weekends, do you have a lot more tips that will apply to, a lot of demographics and stuff?
Yeah, so, and I joke with people, young broke professional is just where I was at that point of my life. That's where my state of mind was. But the tips can help anyone. Even with the work holiday visas, you can apply up to age 30 to 35 with those. So you don't necessarily have to be young. With the broke part, if you're going to make money, you're not going to be broke anymore because you're going to work and make money.
Oh, so no, we have kids. We're broke.
Well, yes, there's so many different creative ways for people who, like I said, just don't have the flexibility to just go take months off at a time. If you want to take a 2-week vacation, we talk about teleworking. I talk about, working from home. I talk about Skype working. I talk about all of these creative ways that if you go to your employer and, after you've been there for a while and you have good rapport and you let the employer know what's important to you, a lot of times people want to keep their employees happy. Turnover rates are extremely high nowadays. People are getting stressed out and quitting. And so it's very important for employers to keep people happy. And so a lot more people are saying yes than no.
I want to talk about some of your adventures while you were on the road. In particular, a lot of women travel solo, and actually the numbers have increased. And it's beyond just the business traveler. But then a lot of times you seem so ambitious and so ready to say yes. But talk about just safety, if you've had any, what would be your scariest moment and how you got out of it?
Sure. So out of the 30 countries I've traveled, I've not had one incident. And I want to knock on wood every time I say that because, it's not any luck or anything. It's just me handling myself in such a way that I don't look like a target. For example, if at Houston, I'm not going to roam around the streets at 2 or 3 in the morning by myself. I'm not going to do it while I'm in, Australia. I'm not going to do it while I'm in Greece. I'm not going to do it while I'm in Italy. So just being smart. I'll see a lot of Americans traveling and they have on their beads. They have their Louis Vuitton purses. They have all of these flashy things that just says, rob me, rob me. So I don't travel with any of those things. I travel very basic. I don't bring anything, that's cost a lot of money. And I want to blend in as much as I can. Usually the countries I'm traveling to with my hair and everything, I am sticking out already. So I don't want to make myself stick out even more. So I just try to be as plain Jane as possible. And just be careful. You meet a guy or you meet a gal at a bar, don't tell them where you're staying. Don't let them know the hotel or the hostel you're staying at. Just safety measures. And just be aware, I don't drink when I'm abroad. I don't, of course, do any drugs or anything. So I'm always, at my full consciousness. And just be very, cognizant of what's going on around you. So, late at night, of course, it might be cheaper to take a train, but it might be a little bit more safe to take a taxi. So just different things like that. Tell people where you are. A lot of times when I travel by myself, I'll let my hotel or my hostel know, hey, I'm just going to hang out at this, club or bar, so God forbid anything should happen, someone knows where I am that's actually in the country where I am. So just little tidbits like that. When I travel, I bring a lock. I lock up my laptop, lock up my passport, keep all of my important documents together. So I'm just always just very aware of what's going around me and keeping my items safe.
Do you, I know that we've been talking a lot about the budget side of it, and I think you touched on a few of these already, but you have mentioned being paid to travel.
Yes.
What are some of those ways that people can do something like that they actually need to have some income while they're traveling, not just, budgeting it?
Sure. So with the India, so it was just one of those things where everyone who knew me knew my passion for international travel. They knew I had a passion for different cultures and different people. So anytime I met anyone, it pretty much came up. So when my professor heard of this opportunity to go to Jaipur, India for 4 months, they were not only going to pay me $2,500 to go, they were going to pay for my flight, and they were going to put me up the entire time I was there. So that was one of those situations where I put myself out there and Davey was saying, just saying yes, being open to saying yes. And so that opportunity came and I was essentially paid to go live and, study in India. And then I had another opportunity come where someone wanted me to, review their hostel. And so they flew me out and I got to stay at their hostel and give my opinion on it because I had been on a few news programs and had been highlighted in Black Enterprise magazine. And so people were starting to know who I was. And so they wanted me to come see their property. And so I had the opportunity to come do that. So different opportunities. And if anyone is interested in doing something like that, I just tell people, build your brand. You know, allow people to know who you are and what it is that you stand for. And people are more than likely going to be on board with it, and then they're going to help you out any way they can.
And I don't think we established what is the main way that because you said the Miami trip is for pleasure, but you're not really working. For me, it's hard for me to like not take a trip and still like, oh, okay, I might as well take some pictures and blog about it. So like, what is the main way that you kind of earn income, if you don't mind?
No, sure. So as of 2 months ago, I was working for a study abroad company for a few years, and I stopped that because actually my full-time goal right now is to open my own hostel. So I took off some time. Again, I have been budgeting and saving while I was working. So now I have a little cushion that will allow me to just kind of focus on writing my business plan now. I'm going to different entrepreneurial conferences. I'm speaking at the Women in Travel Summit conference next month. I'll be speaking at the Women's Travel Fest conference next month as well. So I'll be doing speaking gigs. I'm going to be the keynote speaker at Dillard University in New Orleans next month. So a lot of speaking gigs, speaking opportunities, and then I'll be headed off to New Zealand to work at a hostel for 6 months in August. And so that'll be paid. And so just saving, being creative, and in my speaking gigs is how I'm living right now.
It's awesome. So exciting. So this is the part where Lori and I play a game with you. It's going to be our rapid fire kind of quick questions. You have 10 minutes to answer the questions. No trick questions, but they might be a little tricky.
Okay.
And so we're going to start right now, and I'll go first. All right. So have you ever met love on the road during your travels?
No.
Okay. Any activities on your travel that you were hesitant or scared of, but ended up being your favorite thing?
Absolutely.
Name it.
Skydiving. Riding an elephant. Riding a camel. Snorkeling. All of those things were so scary.
What age did you get your passport?
I was 19.
If you could travel with anyone currently alive, you don't have to know them or not, who would it be and why?
Oh my gosh, Michelle Obama.
You can't. Now, why? You can't just answer with "Oh my gosh."
So Michelle Obama, because she's just such a classy, elegant woman, and I just would want to watch and see how she maneuvers throughout these countries and carries herself in such a impressionable way. I mean, she just seems like she would have so many interesting stories to share with me as we fly and ride and walk and talk.
I know, but what are you contributing to her? You're just observing her. You're so fabulous.
Remember, you're the universe.
You will get to hear about all of my fabulous travels and my stories as well, and I will inspire her, and then she'll have a whole platform on why more people need to go travel abroad.
Nice.
Is there a place that you'll never visit again?
Never. There's anywhere I've ever traveled, I would go again and again and again.
Most difficult lesson you have learned in your travels?
That I look different in a lot of places that I travel, and people will look and stare and possibly want to touch me, but it's all out of curiosity.
And I have one more.
Sure.
What has been your most embarrassing moment while traveling?
Oh, gosh, there's so many. I would probably say, oh, gosh, the first thing that came to mind is when I rode the camel for the first time. And I was in Abu Dhabi, and I almost fell off the camel, and I was leaning on him sideways, hanging on for dear life. So that was pretty embarrassing.
Were you in a dress or anything? Were like the goodies showing?
No, fortunately I had on some skinny jeans and a shirt, so nothing was showing. Thank God.
All right, I've got one last one here for you. All right, you've got it in the name of your book, Wanderlust. It's one of those terms that's thrown around very, flagrantly in travel. Tell me what Wanderlust means to you in 5 words or less.
Oh, freedom, happiness, peace, adventure, and excitement.
Woo!
Very nice.
You were such a fun guest today. Thank you, Deidre, for sharing your story.
Thank you so much.
I'll be following you on all of your adventures on at Wanderlust_YPB on Twitter. Is that all of your social media?
And then on Instagram is Deidre Worldwide. So it's my first name, Worldwide, all one word. So follow me.
Awesome. Well, thank you all for joining us in the chat room. Thanks once again, Deidre, and my fabulous co-host, Lori Mac Brown. And we shall see you guys again next Tuesday, noon Eastern Standard Time. Okay, bye. Safe travels.
Thanks. Bye.